It's got a way in it. I gotta get that out of the focus. Anyways, we'll be working on some slip joint folding knives today, little pocket knives, if you will. There. I'm gonna play with this camera thing and set up, see if we can figure out a good spot. Because I think that moved. That should work. So we're doing little folders. I have the rawest form of what I start with is my template laid out with some layout fluid painted over it. Got my rough start for spring and blade, and I kind of get it close there and start with my pins and doing holes and stuff, and I'm going to kind of walk through about how I do it. If I can figure out, I don't know what's a good spot. I don't want the camera to be here and vibrate and stuff like that, so we'll get it figured out eventually. What's up? So I like to start with the spring, get the spring kind of close because that's pretty much the bulk of your knife. So get it shaped and then fit them together. What we got? Are you engineering a? Nah. No, I'm working on the spring side of a slip joint folding knife. So that's really rough from where I want to be, and then now we're gonna work on the blade side of it or whatever. I like to do the spring first because I give myself a lot of play on the springs because you want to come into your fit ups and stuff very slow on here. You don't want to go too far too fast because if you go a little bit too far in some spots, sometimes you have to start over. Fixed blades, yeah, I've only been doing slip joint folders for about, it didn't even been a month and a half, I don't think. Yeah, I do a lot of fixed blades, kitchen knives and stuff as well. I have some full builds and stuff like that of fixed blades on my page and stuff like that. mainly what I did for a long time, and I kind of threw on the idea of doing folders and did a little bit of research on it one day and kind of studied into it and figured out that it was something that I could probably do and I wanted to learn, and I've been having fun with it. So we'll pile up some questions in there. I'm gonna work on the blade side of it and hush. So, for other makers in here, so when I do this is called the tang of your fixed blade in your kick area, which is this. This will be what stops your all right, whatever that guy was trying to say, I don't know. This is what's going to stop your blade from making contact with the inside of your spring when you fold it. So I like to leave my areas on those really proud of what it's going to be, so I can slowly bring it into a nice clean fit up. Because once you get your lock tension set and spring tension set and all that stuff, you really don't want to mess with your spring a whole lot, because then it starts becoming a back and forth thing, and then eventually your knife doesn't open or close very well, and it's kind of just a practice piece at that point. So anyways, that's what I'm doing. Anyway, got that finished up. My fingers are freezing. The water over there is probably still in the 50 degrees range. English is hard. So, anyways, when we go over here, set you up. Life has been good. Richard and been hanging out, working in the shop. Got some new stuff coming up I'm pretty excited about. So now, from here, we'll start getting our spring kind of set first, and then we'll leave ourselves a little bit of tolerances later on because as you open and close the knife, your spring tension changes and falls and stuff like that, and you don't want your spring to be way too small or way too tall in certain positions, basically. So now we're going to start working on the spring a little bit more, get it a little bit closer to where we want to fit up to the blade we made, and then do some pinholes and stuff like that and start setting the spring and doing the fun part of it. So y'all want to watch that? Me work on this folding knife or do something different? I got a couple other projects going. I got some hand sanding to do. That's super boring to watch. Chris, new subscriber, what's up, man? Appreciate it, because I'm trying to grow my channel a little bit here and talk about knife stuff and do stuff with people and hang out and talk to other makers and talk to people that like buying knives and using knives, and it's basically a knife channel. Anyways, hand sanding, or you want to work on this spring some more, get ready to start drilling some pinholes? Good talk. Nobody said anything. So this is a good rough starting point. Like I said, I'm leaving all my like tolerances and fit ups and stuff like that. Really proud of what it's actually going to be, because I like to ease into a nice tight fit up and spring tension and lock and all that stuff or whatever. That's what I'm trying to work on, at least. I'm by no means good at making folding knives. I think I've made a total of 12 in my life that it was open and closed nice and I was actually happy with. I've got one right here that I was working on the past week or so. It's finished in spalted pecan. We say pecan down here in the South, not pecan like my buddy in Texas makes fun of me for. It's got a really nice lock on it. It's really comfortable in the hand. I got to ship it out tomorrow. My hands are wet. I'm trying not to mark it all up, clean it off again. Really nice. Came out nice. I really like it. This is the second iteration of it. That's the only thing I don't like about it, is it kind of it closes snug and tight when it gets there. It kind of locks in, but it doesn't have that snap shut. And I took that out on purpose because of some issues I was having with the kick and design of the lock of this knife. The gentleman that is getting the knife is older, and I really didn't want it to be too hard to open or too hard to close or snap on his finger or something like that, because it's 8670 and it has a pretty decent edge on it. It's very sharp. So I did that on purpose. I know it's not a thing, but for the man that's getting the knife, I felt that it was, we talked about it and I kind of gave him some ideas and that's what we went with. So, let me throw it real quick. But anyways, we're gonna now get our little block, and I use it to basically get my pinholes and everything set up in the knife and use it as a jig. And I will show you how that is done. It's very simple. Put this knife away. So, for anyone wanting to get into doing folding knives and have questions about it, this Copper is the new shop dog. What I can tell you that I've learned so far in the month and a half, 2 months of me seriously trying to do them is that you can go too far, too fast in a split second. So slip joints are something that I will tell you is not a difficult knife to make well, but it is very, 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 very easy to mess one up trying to go too far, too fast. That's pretty much what I've learned. You have to take your time. They're a simple knife to make, but they've got parts of them that are difficult to do well, I'd say, to do well. Getting all my stuff situated, we're going to drill some holes. I actually want to show this process, so I'm trying to move everybody around. So, chuck key, there it is. I know everyone's going to yell at me for not using a drill press vise, but this drill press, the belt on this drill press is so worn out that I could turn it on and grab the chuck and stop it with little to no force. I could put my hand on it and stop the chuck. So if this drill press hurts you, it's, well, they can all hurt you. I'm not even going to say that because machines are dangerous, but this drill press is super worn out. Old girl's been through it, as they say. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my jig on this block. It's a little bit neater and hasn't quite been drilled into 1,000 times, and it's flat-ish. So what I'm going to do is drill my pinhole in the tang. I basically want the outside, the blade side of the pivot hole, from what I've learned, wants to be relatively close to your spring stop area here in the tang. So the pins I'm using, I believe are 3/32 pins, because this is a pretty decent sized knife. So what I'm going to do is kind of get it down there and eyeball it. And like I said, I'm proud of my tolerances everywhere else, so if I don't get this perfect, I can just adjust everything because I've got plenty of room to work with. And this is just how I get close to where I want to be. So, that's about where mine like to be. That's, you know, from doing them, that's about where I feel is works for me, how I put mine together, I should say. Anyways, so now drilling these holes in here is important, but it's not as important as later on when you do your setting your spring. So for a while, I wasn't drilling this hole at all, the back hole. For 2 or 3 knives, I did it, and then I decided to go ahead and just drill it and set my spring tension later, because I was trying to bend the spring into spring tension instead of filing and kind of getting everything to match up. And it worked on a few, but it's just not ideal. So there are 2 holes in a spring, and I will show you how well, first we can kind of rough it in, but basically now you put your pins in, the knife's going to be around that shape. And what we'll do with this block of wood is drill our pins and put our pins in this block of wood and use the block of wood to be able to, you know, open and close and articulate the action of the knife, basically, is what you want to do, so you can get your, what it's going to look like open and what it's going to look like closed, get your kick and everything set where the blade doesn't touch or the tip's not sticking out. You know, you kind of adjust all that stuff now at this point. So I think these are the right size pins. Yeah, they are. So what I would do is find where I want to put my blade in the jig, drill me a hole, put a pin in the blade, and then from there I'll be able to move the spring around. This is how I do it. This is how I figured it out. I'd really hope for someone that knows what they're doing to pop in here and tell me what to do, because we just winging it, boys. So we're gonna drill this probably there. Looks like a good spot. So what I'm going to do now is we grind some chamfers on these pins real quick, and I'll get this stuff put together and give you an idea of what I'm talking about if you're not kind of visualizing it yet. So now I've knocked the corners off my pins so they can go in and out of this wood easily. They're still, it's a little bit of a snug fit in the wood, but we throw it in the dirt real quick. Now it's drop forced. There we go. All right, hammer. Just tap it in there because you're gonna have to pull this pin out. It doesn't need to be buried in there. It just needs to be relatively close enough to be accurate later on. So that looks good to me. I got good, there we go. I got good contact on the back, got good contact on the tang. So what I want to do is kind of force this together as tight as possible, see where it wants to sit in a nice locked open position. I don't know if you can see that. Does that make sense? And then that is where I'm going to want to set my center hole, and then later on we'll do the other one. Don't drill them both at this point. What I like to do is when I get it, you know, pretty relatively where I want to be, I want to clamp this so when I drill it, it doesn't move around at all. It's nice and tight, and you keep your fit up, because then slop later on, because of a bad hole, you'll be trying to fix it in the blade, and then when you put them on your liners and stuff like that and everything is accurate and true to where it needs to be, you're going to have issues. So kind of on the wood, it wants to be you know, as tight as possible to not move around, because it does walk. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to clamp this here with this baby clamp. There we go. I don't know if it's gonna work. I need a bigger clamp, or I could just turn it. There we go. So I'll clamp this down to where my blade is not really under spring tension, but kind of forced to stay there. And then we're going to drill the center hole. All right, now when I put the center pin in, I'm going to want to take the blade out so we can, there. We're on the dark side of the shop. So once I put my center pin in, I've drilled the center hole. I have the tang pivot hole. So when I put this in, we're going to set a little bit of spring tension by, we're going to move this C-clamp. We're going to take the blade off. First, we're going to mark it where your spring's at now. I'm going to take the blade off and then adjust the spring down, pressuring, on the back of your tang by scooting this up just a smidge. Does that make sense? You bend it on that little pivot. But don't do it much. It doesn't take much. I'm telling you, this is the part of it that's really, really hard to get your happy area to be. So if I ever find my scribe, I'll just get a pencil. So what I'm going to do is mark back here. Well, since I put my clamp there, I'm not going to be able to watch it very much. So we'll mark our spring, top of the spring, and as much of this as we can mark down here. Because when we push this up, we're going to want to push. I usually here, or have been doing half the thickness of your pins. These pins are 3/32, so I'm not going to pull out a micrometer to get this exact in the wood, but when you do your fit up to your liners and everything, it is the best to be as accurate as possible as you can be on these things, because what I've seen and found out, the neater you're able to pull it off and the cleaner and more precise you can be, the better your knife is going to work. Basically, I'm just going to scoot it. I can't feel if it's warm in this wood. Clap it back down. Was it in the little template thing here, your jig or whatever? It doesn't have to be absolutely flawless. It just needs to be close enough to where later on with some small files and kind of scotch brightening it here and there, and kind of cleaning things up to get a better action. These holes are just to get you to that point, and so now put a pin in there. And in the wood, it doesn't necessarily matter if you taper that center pin, because you have to kind of beat it back in under pressure when you put the knife together, because I'm never going to be able to get that out. We'll go back over here, show you what I'm talking about. Take our hammer. Can't see that. Move the jukebox. Scoot you back. There we go. So now, we're going to pull out our center pin. Put the blade back in it. When we close it, our hole should be offset just a smidge. This is not necessarily going to be that, because it's a piece of 1x4, so the wood is going to want to shift and stuff on you. But when you do it on your liners and you do the final fit up and stuff like that, when you drill your liner holes, this needs to be super accurate. When you scoot that pin up to pivot it forward, it needs to be very, very accurate. Because if not, you're going to not have a good lock. Your spring tension is going to be off, or it's going to be too hard to work. Nobody wants a pocket knife that's a full-time job. Now, once you get your pin in there, your blade should stay open. Should have a little bit of spring to it, yeah? From there, we're gonna, well, what you would do is you could turn this and pivot it around, but this is annealed. So if I do that, it will bend it. So what I usually do is just try to help it along the way. Later on, you're obviously going to have to do that to figure out how much spring travel you've got. But right now, I don't do it once I'm in this stage, because I keep having issues with bending the spring, and then I'm bending it back and it's never the same. And so I come down here, put it together what would be closed. So by just seeing how tight it is here, that means I've got a little bit more down here that needs to come off of the lock, because I'm definitely going to have to put more spring pressure on it. So from there to there, I just kind of articulate it, and I can see right here it's got a lot of resistance on the closing. So that tells me the corner of my tang here is just a little bit too much. So you can file it off, or you can grind it off. If you grind it off, the chances of you going too far is very high. Since I know this, I can look at it and tell you that I can probably take that entire corner off and be just fine. I'm gonna touch it on the grinder because I still have to set this spring tension. So right now we're just getting close. So once I bring this up where it actually needs to be, because I don't think I tightened it at all, get that. So once we get it closed, we can see that our tip of our blade is below here, or it's a little bit too far open for, you know, what you want to do. To adjust that, to bring that down, see how big the kick on this blade is? I do that on purpose so that I can now start removing that kick and bringing the, I just noticed something. So the end of my spring is behind the end of my tang, which means this knife is not going to work. Not bad. I can, when I redrill my pinholes, I can just bring this part of my blade. I can just bring this up a little bit further to where when it's closed, the blade will be back here. Yeah, because that'll move my pivot. Unless that's wrong. What do you think? Oh, Jesus, there's a bunch of comments down there. I don't know how to YouTube. I'm sorry. Here, we'll do that. Let's go through. I've been on some. Richard's been working on Damascus. Oh, man. My bad. I couldn't, the comments weren't there. I thought I was in here by myself. I'll set you back up here. So I've been hand sanding on this big slicer I've been doing. It's going to have some pretty slick handle material going on it. I've just been working on getting it cleaned up. It's at like a really rough 320 belt finish right now, and then I Scotch-brite it because when I started hand sanding it had a bunch of crap in it I couldn't get out. Let's see. I don't know how to pronounce that guy's name. He said Little River Ware. It's Florida. Yeah, Richard's been working on folders himself, sounds like. I don't know what Big D Randy's talking about. And greetings from Germany. There you go. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know why the comments weren't moving. If y'all were talking to me, I wasn't seeing it. I was looking at the same comments over and over and over. It just was, it wasn't moving, I guess. Anywho's, so I know now that I have to move this forward, which is fine. So now I'm thinking my whole position is wrong, which is probably why this was too tight. I
can't see what that says. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm blind. So I think I should start with drilling my tang hole further that way and not flush with the end of this lock. Maybe like a 16th that way. So maybe that's what that is. I'm gonna make a note of that because I'm gonna forget and I'm gonna do it again when I do this knife. Because I had the same issue on that knife. Hold up. I have this information somewhere. Where did I do my pencil? All right. Caveman drawings is what that was. So, now to fix this, all I'm going to do is have to push this back up forward a little bit more. I don't know who that is. I have no idea who you are. Shoot me a message. So, once I scoot that forward, it should be the equivalent of not drilling that tang hole too far back. So I'm just going to work on that for a little bit and then kind of ease my way into that. I'm going to have to, well, not if I grind it. I don't think so. My spring's going to be too short. All right, so this is probably a failure, but so my spring is definitely going to be too short, but I can kind of pivot it around and I guess it doesn't matter. So I think with how much I pushed it forward, I should be able to move that back. My pinhole will be here. By doing that, my knife will be about where it needs to be for that to work. So I could re-drill my pivot hole. That would be awesome. Maybe, we'll see. Back to the dark side of the shop. So, type of steel do I prefer for an EDC pocket flipper? I don't care for carbon, or I'm sorry, for stainless steel. I prefer carbon steel. The only upside to stainless steel to me is you can put it in the dishwasher. And I feel like if you are getting a quality knife, then you should be able to take the couple seconds it takes to wipe it and dry it off and put it back away. Stainless is for lazy people, basically. Yeah, it's we call it the shop. Probably going to be leaving here pretty soon. Moving, I say, and not leaving. So I'm going to miss my shop. So hopefully I got enough room to put that there. I'm going to have to make an adjustment to this real quick. Let me find a file. Well,
All right, so now I've got the pin moved. So let's see if I moved it far enough to actually be where I need it to be, because what I said about putting the hole there, bad idea. Don't do that. It worked, and then it didn't work. Let me find my pin. All right. So right now what I'm looking for, I'm not looking for spring tension. I'm looking for that. That click click is what you want to hear, and that's actually pretty dang close. All right, now what I'm going to do, I've never been able to do this accurately, but I keep trying. I want a pencil. Where you want to mark where your spring is closed, and then mark where your spring is opened. That way, when your knife is closed in your pocket where it spends most of its life closed, you got a nice flush finish. When it's open, you don't have something sticking up in the palm of your hand or something, ducked down, and it makes it look a lot neater. There's a tool for doing that. I don't have it. That's really not expensive. I just don't have it. I've only been making folding knives for a month and a half, 2 months. So now the spring is, if you can see my dark pencil mark, the spring is way lower in the open position than it is in the closed position, which means that gap right there that I have to take up by removing some off of this kick will bring that down, and not only bring it down, allow the knife to close further in there, clearing the scales and the liners and stuff. So we are on track for this actually working. Pinhole's a little bit close to the edge on the tang, but it'll buff. It's close enough to what it would actually be if I was happy with it. So now we're going to bring some down off of the kick and the tang area that makes contact with the spring, because the spring is being pushed up in the closed position, which is good because it'll have nice pressure, so we don't want to take too much. But it's looking like a pretty decent amount. So let's knock some of that off, and then we'll scrub our way in with like a Scotch-Brite or something like that to get it nice and smooth. It's in there like that. Oop, popped out. It's making good sounds, so that's good. So can't really tell if it's snapping closed, but it's where it needs to be. The closed position, it's way down from where it was. It's actually pretty close now. So. All right, so now I got to adjust some off the back of the spring back here, because I don't want to take the blade down any smaller. So back here, the tip is really close, so I want to clean that up. It's too big anyway. So from this pin forward, including up here, until after heat treat, don't touch it. You can grind bevels and stuff like that and rough your bevels in, but now that you've got that working, don't touch it, because after the heat treat, you're going to have oxides on it and stuff, and you're going to have to take them off. Take them off with the highest, finest grit possible. Scotch-Brites work great. If you have a clean finish before heat treat, Scotch-Brite will take it off and it'll be perfect. So what we're going to do now is come over here. I'm going to adjust this down, and then I'll probably kill the live stream unless y'all want to ask questions or hang out or, whatever. If not, I'm going to go inside because it's cold, and Florida is not supposed to be cold, and I hate it.
Staying in state, getting a new shop. Richard, I'm going to Texas. I never thought I'd say that, but I'm going to leave Florida. I'm going to miss it, but at the same time, I've got some stuff that needs to be handled, that needs to be done, that just, I'm ready. So I'm going to be starting a knife making company, going to get into doing production work, stuff like that. ADCR V2 is really good for this. I'm using 8670, which is, it's kind of close to ADCR V2, but it's not anything like ADCR V2. So that doesn't make sense, but if you look at their metallurgical properties, they're relatively close. They have a lot of the same properties, I guess you could say, but they're not the same. But ADCR V2 is good for everything, in my opinion. That is top 5 steels. I love it. But yeah, Richard, we're gonna be going to Texas, so it shouldn't take long to get stuff back up and going. I've got it kind of set up to where I will be able to continue to do slip joint folders and stuff like that. The occasional stock removal, because I'll have my grinder. I don't really care to do stock removal knives. Not that there's anything wrong with them. I like forging better than I like grinding. But yeah, I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit, and then we're gonna do some questions and hang out. And is that who that is? Hey. So this is way closer dimension. Took all that extra meat out, which would be basically just make the knife lighter, because past this point that way the knife doesn't flex. There's 2 pins, neither one of these turn or move or do anything, so all of your spring tension will be in the front. So now at this point we're ready to cut us some liners, get some handle material and stuff like that picked out, and bathroom. Start when we drill our pinholes for the actual knife, instead of going on this jig, it will be marked, laid out, dicom, scribe lined, all that stuff or whatever. Actually take a measurement of what you scoot the knife to and stuff like that. We'll take measurements of where the spring is at in the closed half lock the open half lock and closed position. We'll take measurements of that with some scribe lines. I usually do it with dicom because it's pretty accurate. You can get pretty accurate scribes, and I try to get all of those to kind of happy meet in the middle and operate as smooth as possible and stuff like that. But after heat treat, we'll take all these contacting surfaces up to like 320 on a belt, and then I will fine Scotch-Brite them, because I don't really want to remove material, because then that will mess up your locking mechanism. But that is what I've learned so far in making slip joints. So I don't know what that means. So we'll probably do another one of these. I just wanted to get some stuff out in the shop today and get done doing some stuff and kind of hang out with y'all and say what's up. Say appreciate y'all. We're gonna be doing another giveaway. It'll probably be one of these. I just had one. What did I do with it? We're gonna be giving away a slip joint folder once we get to Texas. So anyways, here is a slip joint we were working on. This knife's actually going to Texas, but nowhere remotely close to where we're going to be. We're gonna give it away something like this on the channel. We're gonna do it, and hopefully have a video on it, like a full build like we did the last one. So we got a child in here.
Anyways, we'll get out of here, get the forge lit, turn on some music, hang out. I appreciate y'all for coming to listen to me ramble talking about making folding knives. If you do make them, shoot me a message, let me know what I did wrong and all that good stuff, or what you're working on, and we can hang out, talk about knife stuff. Anyways, y'all have a good day. Appreciate y'all. Close out. Peace out.